Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Hal Smith, the founder of H Street Digital. So tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
It's a great question, Harry. I think the first thing is be as specific as possible around the product or service you want to build a business around. I think one common issue I've seen, and I've dealt with this myself personally, and then we work with a lot of early stage companies, or we did at one time. And the biggest thing is they're too distracted. They're trying to do too many things for too many different people. I think it's really good if you get really, really specific around that product or service and the specific customer base you want to go after with that. I think that's really the first step. The second one is go talk to 100 people that work in that space, either around the product or service or on the customer side. But unless you get a good enough sample size, a good data set from having those conversations with those people, you don't truly know if your idea is actually going to be that helpful. You don't actually know if you're going to solve a specific problem for your target customer. And also, too, you don't really know what the competitors, who the competitors are, or what specifically you really should be doing in that space in terms of marketing. So I think it's really good to just talk to at least 100 people before you start. And then I think once you get started, focus all your time on sales. I think to get to $1 million, you want to just focus on sales. Don't worry about the branding of your website. Don't worry about making, good looking business cards. Don't worry too much. This sounds bad, but the accounting side of things or like who you're hiring, just focus on getting business. I think you learn the most from just talking and interfacing with customers, from making mistakes with those customers, from losing customers. You learn so much about how you need to build your business, but it only starts if you're actually getting customers. So spend all your time on sales at the beginning, especially to get to 1 million. I think then once you have a couple of customers, you're developing that business a little bit, be very, very intentional on who your first full-time hire is. It's incredibly important that the people you're bringing in first are going to be multipliers for your business and are actually going to drive impact, are going to be able to do stuff really well without your involvement. So you have to be very intentional of who that first person is. And then the final thing is build out processes and systems of the business as early as possible and then constantly refine them. Because, once you hit about $1 million in revenue, you want to basically build out this kind of machine that is the business that starts to run a little bit without your involvement.
I agree 100% in this that you share with us, like focus in sales. Yeah, I remember when I started my first business, when you started the business, you're wearing a lot of hats and you don't have time for anything. Yeah. And I was doing exactly as you said, I was focusing in sales. And then the people were saying, Harry, but can you have a look at the accounts? And I was thinking, well, I'm selling and there is money left in the bank account. So clearly, I cannot tell you in detail because I don't have time because I'm so busy selling. But I can tell you that, there is something left because. So yeah, I agree 100% agree with you that, when you put all your intention at the beginning in sales, because it's going to take time to master all the rest of the skills like account, building the brand on the website, on the whatever. This takes time and takes knowledge and expertise. I'm not saying don't pay attention, but try to focus your at least 80% of your time in sales. I did this and I handle it. If I look at the accounts, could be improved better? Yes. If I look at the brand could be improved better? Yes. But I was so focused in sales, because I knew that if as soon as I can sell the product, the company would be alive because it was money left in the bank account.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking I'm making money, I don't know how much. I cannot tell you how much because I'm busy selling. But If every month all the expenses go and still I can see money there, clearly I'm making money.
It's working. Yeah. Well, I think what I've learned, like talking to friends who want to start businesses, and then also too for a lot of clients that we had in the past that were, maybe they're doing a couple $100,000 in revenue and they really wanted to grow. They were so distracted by so many things. And to your point, you have to wear so many different hats. And it's like, what is the most important hat to wear? What should I wear most of the time? And it really is sales, because you learn so much about the business, and then you actually start to see a business appearing when you're getting customers, right? You learn it's like, okay, I had really good sales and all my customers are leaving. Then you can go back and look and ask yourself the question, why are they leaving? And then you can start fixing processes around that. You can do better stuff around customer engagement, whatever that might be. But if you don't have customers in the first place, you don't know that it's a problem you might have, right?
What's the point to be to put some energy in the branding, in this and that? First you need to sell it whatever it takes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, it's especially on the product side, I've seen this. It's called like the lean, lean growth, or it's like learn, test, optimize process. But it's you want to get your product out in the hands of your customers. You want to see how they interact with it. You want to see if they like it or not, and then you want to take that feedback and improve things. But if you sit there and you try to dream up the most perfect product that you think customers will like, and you go launch it into the market and it falls flat, then, you have to start from zero again. But if you're out there, you're constantly putting that product in your customers' hands, you're actually getting the data back on how you need to improve to make it a more appealing product. And I think to your, you mentioned this before, but it's product market fit. Like you learn product market fit by actually just getting it out there, getting it into customers' hands and really understanding it and kind of pivoting from there. I think the companies I've worked with that ultimately like really struggle with product market fit is they try to do everything by themselves, hidden away from the market, and then they try to bring it out into the market and then it falls flat. So I think it's just so important to be out there selling, be out there getting your product in your customers' hands, get your service out there and really start to get that feedback so you can make good adjustments.
Okay, so tell us how you decide to become an entrepreneur. What happened?
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll tell you a little bit of a story about what I've done. So after college, my first job was in political advertising. So I used to run ad campaigns for political candidates.
Oh, you learned a lot about the ties in there, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's the best kind of like case study around advertising. You learn everything. Oh yeah. And it's all different ad channels. It's, I worked on a presidential campaign, so it was very big budgets. It was, national.
Wow.
And so it was great experience. I leveraged that to go do a lot of political consulting. And so I do consulting for other, political campaigns. And I did that, and then I realized I didn't really like politics that much because it's an ugly business for multiple reasons. And so I actually had an opportunity to go work for an old boss and help him start up a digital advertising agency. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I also did a little bit more of political consulting on the side. After a point of going through this experience, so the interesting thing about political is with campaigns specifically, you basically start an advertising agency and run it for like 7 months, right? Because you have to start everything new from scratch every time you do a campaign. So I had a lot of experience starting teams from nothing and building out the processes and building out like essentially a company in like 7 months. And then when I helped start up this agency, I realized I had the kind of experience and knowledge to go start my own agency. I also had a conversation with the founder of the agency I was working at about equity. And basically, I was told I was not entitled to equity, even though I had built a large part of the business. And so I was like, why am I making so much money for other people when I could just do this for myself, right? So I decided to start my own agency.
Oh, that was very brave to start your own agency, yeah?
Oh, yeah. It was, I think, one thing for people who are looking.
That's interesting. I didn't hear this before. I think that so not out of anger, out of because sometimes entrepreneurs, we have all the entrepreneurs, even you have this gene within you that one day you're gonna make it. One day, sometimes you need this little push. That for me was the book of Rich Dad Poor Dad Roy
Oh
Kiyosaki.
yeah.
So that that give sometimes we have within ourselves, because otherwise we won't be entrepreneurs. But sometimes we need this little push. And I hear a lot of stories. Some people we projecting to interview over 5,000 entrepreneurs here, and already we hear a lot of stories that people read a book, that a friend, and now it was an entrepreneur thing. But your little push is like, hey, okay, you know what? If you think I'm not entitled to equity, I'm gonna do it myself then. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say it's definitely ambition too. It's just wanting to go have my own company at some point too. But that was the trigger moment that made me decide that all right, this is time, right? And so that's what kind of kicked it off. And I did it actually. This is kind of funny. I started the agency. I ran it for about a year. It was very profitable. It was very,
Really?
I was like, this is the reason why people do this, because I was making pretty good money. And then
Oh,
all my clients,
on the first
oh
year,
yeah,
you built it really quickly and was making money really quickly. Wow,
yeah. So this is
that's
what's funny
unusual.
though. Well, yeah. So it's okay. I regret I reverted to the mean basically over time. So the first year was very good, but all my clients were actually political clients, and so they were tied to the election cycle. And so once the election day happened, all the clients were gone.
Oh wow, yeah,
And
because the election finished.
yeah, except one of my clients was an agency that worked in the political space, and so that agency actually gave me an offer to come in house with them and build out an advertising program and kind of let go of the agency, or like my agency. So I took that offer and I went in house with the other agency, and I worked with them for about a year, and then I realized I don't like working for people, and so
Oh.
and
But
so
sometimes you have to
there's
do what you have to do to survive your business. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And then I decided, all right, this is enough. I should just go back and start my own agency again. So I restarted it. And then I had a very normal experience starting the agency. So first year was very rough. It was really, really tough. And I think for anybody that's interested in starting a company, uh, it's hard. Like it's really it's gonna be tough. It's gonna
Even
suck.
for
And
you that have experience, yeah.
yeah, even though I had all this experience, I knew all the right things, it was really tough. And part of that was sales. I wasn't actually that good at sales. So I really had to learn that. So the first year was very tough. I actually didn't pay myself the entire first year. I just relied on savings, and I used all the money of the business to pay for contractors, pay for other business services to kind of get that off the ground. So it was a really, really tough first year. And then the second year got significantly better. And in that year, I think a big change is I actually joined this group called Entrepreneurs Organization. They have an accelerator where companies that are basically doing more than 250,000 revenue are allowed to join. And in that, they have a good incubator program to basically teach you how to grow a business and how to scale. And it's using a lot of the tools from this book called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. And so I took a lot of those, lessons from that incubator kind of accelerator environment, and I applied them to the business. It worked really well. And I was able to next year do significantly better. Following year after that, keep growing. And then this year, I went from really in a bad spot to doubling revenue, doubling again. This year we'll grow by 60%, but it's doing quite well now. Now we have 12 clients and we have 24 people. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's amazing. So now, let's see about so in this difficult moment, in the first year that you build in the agency, right? And things are going tough, especially because you I think that you said that in the second year were better. I'm thinking, yeah, in the second year were better because in the second year you learn how to sell now. So that's why
Yeah.
that's why it's getting better. It took you a year, but now you know how to do it. So in the at the end, so but in this first year when you have to look at yourself, because probably you don't like sales, right? You like what you do. You like it. You're very good clearly at what you do, like creating campaigns, finding the demographic, create content appeal to this demographic, and and persuade the opinion of this demographic to make a decision. Clearly, you're very good at that. Yeah, this was your job. This was what you were doing for other people. Yeah, but now sales is have nothing to do with that, and
Yeah.
I don't even know if you like it. Yeah, so even if you didn't like it, you embraced to learn something that you didn't like in order to save your business. That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I'm sure you read the book, The E Myth. Have you heard of that book?
Yeah, I hear about
Yeah.
it.
So I think it's one of the people they describe as like as an entrepreneur category as a technician. And so it's somebody who's very good at that specific service. They think because they're good at that service, they can go make a business out of it. But the reality is just because you're good at that, that doesn't mean you're good at growing a business. And a big part of that is sales. So I realized that my skill set was good in this specific service, but it was great if I was a contractor, if I was freelancing and I could, kind of, quote unquote, have a business around that, but it's not truly a business, right? It's just me freelancing. So I had to go learn those like business building skills. And I think like I realized it's actually more important to know how to build and scale a business than it is to actually know the service itself. And that's why I think there's so many good like serial entrepreneurs that can go build businesses in different, categories because they just truly understand how to hire good people, how to build out good systems, how to do sales, right? And so if they understand all that, you can build a business anywhere. Except I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So I had to go learn those
Nobody knew,
skills.
neither do I. We had to learn by doing because we didn't know that, at the end of the day, at the beginning, we were employees, right? So we are used to get paid to do a specific task. And now we are in business, and now we realize that, wow, we had to learn a lot of new things and we had to embrace even things that you like, even things that you don't like. So, how you manage to stay positive, right? And embrace the whole entrepreneur journey, which is completely different journey like the sole trader or the employees, right? So what was exciting about this, even when things were not going according to plan, especially this first year when you learn the odds?
Yeah. So I think one interesting. I'm trying to remember the quote, but I'll paraphrase here. So inspiration doesn't matter in entrepreneurship. You can be inspired for a certain
Oh
amount of
yeah,
time, but you're going to get punched in the face a couple of times and all that inspiration is going to disappear.
absolutely.
And I think it's so I wasn't particularly excited at any time. I just basically committed myself to being disciplined. And I said, if I do these certain things every day, if I keep this structure in my, daily habits, if I made sure that I'm at a minimum doing these specific, actions or deliverables every day, every week, I'm just going to keep plugging away at it. And I'm just going to stay disciplined in that. And I just had this kind of belief, this long-term belief that it's eventually going to pan out. Right. And I just like forced myself to commit to just getting the right things done. I made sure I tried to do the most important thing I believed for the business every day. And I would like sit down and I like literally write in a journal, like what's the one thing that I should do such by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary. And I try to do that one thing every day.
From where
And
did you
then,
find the strength, the confidence, like this, I'm gonna make this work no matter what? Where the confidence was coming? It's coming from your family, from your surroundings, for yourself. How you find this? Because I'm sure I've been there. We all been there. Every day you're thinking, oh my God, shall I quit this and go back to my job, to my happy life? So where do you find the strength to keep going, regardless of adversity and bad times?
yeah, I think it's three things. One is it sounds bad, but I think from family at least, I grew up like had a lot of siblings. It was kind of tough on my parents. Like I grew up in an environment that was we had a lot of opportunity. Our parents took care of us well, but there wasn't, that much like financial opportunity. So I had this kind of drive to make something out of my life, to do something more, right? So I think I had this kind of intrinsic drive to really achieve something. I think the second thing is sports. So I played a lot of sports in my childhood and actually played sports in college as well. And it's just the kind of grittiness you develop from sports to kind of keep showing up every day, keep pushing. I think was really good for me. It kind of kept this kind of attitude to compete and keep pushing. And then I think the third thing is I had to find a group of people that had the same mindset. Because I think you have to be surrounded by people that are dealing with the same problems. Because I think if you're surrounded by people who aren't dealing with these problems, or maybe living a lifestyle that really doesn't, that kind of detracts from what you need, it starts to wear down on you. It starts to kind of drag you down too. So I think you have to go seek out groups of people that are kind of, in this space, in this mentality. And then by nature of just being around these people, you kind of keep that drive.
Yeah, but I think it's amazing because at the end of the day, every 98% of the success of the entrepreneurs is in the mindset and the psychology of the entrepreneur. But for that you have to be brave. You need to let your ego go and say, okay, you know what? I need help. I need to surround with people that can actually help me out. This is more tougher than what I thought, and I need help because I think that one of the problems that we find out there with entrepreneurs is that when things are not working, they go to the corner and they hide and they become insulated. They want to solve by themselves. They go trapped inside the room and they don't seek help. They don't even, because even if you don't seek for help or you don't ask for help, you're not gonna find help, right? But other entrepreneurs like you kind of surrender to the idea that, hey, this is a lot to take on. It's almost a year here. I haven't taken salary. I'm still building this. I have to look strong for my team, for my company, and I need help. I need to hang out with people that that lift me up a little bit. So, how where this inspiration came with you that you realize, okay, you know what, I need help and I need to join a community that people are in my same environment, so I have someone to talk to and work on myself personally, right?
Yeah. So I think it happened in two ways. One is, so I mentioned this as kind of the steps to make your first million is to go talk to 100 people in the space. So one thing I was intentional about when I was planning to go start this agency is I went out and reached out to a lot of other agency owners who were pretty successful that I had seen on Twitter and LinkedIn. And I messaged them and I said, hey, can we talk for 30 minutes? Right. And so I went and started, like, I made a habit out of just talking to people who were further ahead than I am to just kind of brainstorm with them and kind of learn, how they've dealt with certain problems and kind of hear their stories. And then, so I was already kind of doing that. And then especially in that first year, I was dealing with so much weight, right? You have all these issues, you have all this stress, you have these problems, and there's nobody to talk to about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like none of my friends were dealing with it. My fiance now, she didn't care. She's like, "Don't talk to me about this."
Don't even talk about me. This is your problem. I don't want to know.
Yeah, and so I just felt all this like burden of all this stuff, and I had nobody. I couldn't talk to my employees about it because I didn't want to concern them.
Of course, you cannot. They won't understand you. Yeah, the first time when I have issue starting my business, I was not paying myself. And I was paying all this money to all my employees. And I'm telling to my employees, guys, at least you're getting paid. I haven't get paid at all. And my employees, they were telling, well, it's your business. I'm like, yeah. But I'm making zero. You guys are making all the money.
Yeah.
Employees, they would say, well, I don't care if you make or not. It's your business. It's not my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's,
you cannot talk to them.
Yeah. That's a tough, the whole thing too about having employees, but
that's another podcast that we're gonna have a lot of fun, yeah. But that's another one. But anyway, let's leave for another podcast. We can have a lot of fun about this one. But anyway, yeah.
But yeah, after talking to a lot of people, the one thing I kept hearing back like constantly was you gotta start like building a community. You need to have a group of people to be talking about this with, and you need to be talking to other business owners. And so that's why I joined this group, EOA, the accelerator, because I was like, this is a good group of people who are all in the same position I'm in. They're in the same headspace. And so I think for anyone that's maybe in this position, it's to, go start finding people who have the same headspace that are all, also entrepreneurs that have businesses, because you will realize that you will be able to talk about a lot of these problems with them, and it will take a big weight off your shoulders. And then I think more importantly is you actually start getting a lot of good insights and advice from these people that really start to solve these problems too. So
now tell us a little bit more about your company. How I think that, when you actually, how do you find your niche? How do you find this service that you are guys providing that clearly are different than the rest of the competition, and that's why you guys are getting market share? How do you find this niche, this how you design the strategy to go after this niche, and how you realize in the first place it was by accident, you were doing research. So how you guys find this niche that you are serving now, that actually have been very good, and clearly you're different on the competition. That's why you have market share.
yeah.
So why you
So I guess it started with the specific service I'm good at, right? Which was customer acquisition. It was advertising that directly drives sales. So it's direct response advertising. So I was already good at that because that's what I'd done at previous agencies. That's a lot of it is what I did in political, which was basically fundraising, right? It's fundraising for candidates, grassroots fundraising. So I know this kind of system around it and how to implement it to basically drive more sales for companies. So I started doing that. And it's funny because I did kind of develop the niche as I went on. I first thought, hey, I'm going to go work with startups. And anybody that knows working with startups,
I don't think this is a good choice. They don't have money, huh?
It was not a good choice because of that reason. Also, because of something else we talked about, product market fit. So it's really hard to advertise if your product doesn't have product market fit. So I learned that's not the greatest place to be in. And then we went up market a little bit. So we started working with e-commerce brands that were doing $1 to $3 million revenue.
Okay,
that got a little bit better.
Money, yeah?
A little bit more money, but not that much. And
that
was also difficult because there are three big issues that happen with brands at that size. One is they don't actually have good inventory management. So if we were successful, we would drive a lot of sales, and they would run out of inventory, and then we'd have to shut down ads.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have. I wish
good problem to have.
We have this problem. How these guys running out of inventory?
Well, it's especially at that stage, they don't have that well kind of developed relationships with their suppliers. They don't actually know their shipping and logistics that well. And then I think the kind of other key point here is they don't actually understand their product contribution margins. And so, we'll be working with them and we're like, hey, we just drove a bunch of sales at this kind of target return on ad spend you wanted. And they're like, well, it's great, but we just lost money this month. And we're like, well, how did that happen? And it's because they weren't actually profitable on a per product sales basis. And so we had to, there's not a whole lot of sophistication there. And then I think the third thing is, this sounds bad because, I'll just say it. A lot of company like e-commerce owners that are in the $1 to $3 million range, they don't really have that good of a system or kind of maturity around decision making. So a lot of stuff was pretty volatile. They would want to shut things down, then restart again, then shut it down again. And they would be all over the place. And it was just kind of difficult methodically working towards a goal with them. And then we also found out as we started getting better and better at what we do, we're actually really good at kind of this aggressive scaling process. So we've taken clients from spending about $10,000 a month on ads to spending $2 million a month, right?
Wow.
And with that too is brands that are doing $1 to $3 million, they don't have the financial backing to support that type of growth.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So then we found, hey, we're actually best working with brands that are doing about 8 figures or $10 million or more in revenue. And then we also found out it's really good to kind of have repetitions in the same environment. So it's like we're best in e-commerce, right? And specifically on Shopify, because we just learned a lot of nuances on that platform, right? And became better and better at that. We became better and better with direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands. And then also too on this scaling process, basically our kind of goal now is to take companies that are doing about $50,000 to a couple $100,000 in revenue per month and get them over to about $1 million or more per month in revenue. And so
Wow.
that's kind of our sweet spot.
9x.
Yeah. And we've done it multiple times now, and we're pretty good at it, but we're very aggressive in how we approach these campaigns and how we do testing, and really focusing on these, what we call them, our limiting factors to growth, and running tests around and solving for it so we can scale them up pretty aggressively. But so that's where we've kind of landed at, which is working with 8-figure e-commerce brands that have this big direct-to-consumer approach.
Any particular type of products, like could be, or actually any commerce product would work? Any commerce?
Yeah, so what we found is, actually, because I'm more kind of focused around the numbers and data, is the specific product doesn't matter as much. It's more about what the average order value is. So typically we want the AOV to be over $100. We want the customer acquisition cost, and this is like the margin on the product, but we want that to be between $20 and $30. We need an addressable market that's basically more than 15 million people. And if all those things are true, we can scale them up pretty well. But if it's not true, like you're limited by your market size, or you're limited by the efficiency of that product sale. And so as long as those things are true, we can kind of work with any e-commerce product.
That's fantastic. And I think the good thing about e-commerce is that you can measure everything. Yeah. I talk with a lot of entrepreneurs, with some people in the e-commerce space. I say, man, if I give you, if you invest 2,000 in advertising and you make 4,000 in sales and you double your sale, how much money can you invest? And they say, well, 10,000. I said, man, no, all of it, everything you have, put it in there, man. What are you thinking about? It's, you're doubling your things. I think that there is a lot of misconception that when things goes wrong in the business, number one, people say, okay, let's cut in advertising. They have this brilliant idea, especially in COVID. I hear a lot that we are in COVID, so let's cut the budget for sales, marketing, and advertising. I'm like, what? Put the foot in the gas, man. You're gonna die if you don't do that. You cannot. How this is the only thing that you cannot cut. So what do you think that the mindset of the entrepreneurs actually? A lot of entrepreneurs out there, they're seeing advertising like a cost. And I don't see how this is a cost when you can actually measure how much money you put. It's like an investment. It's how much money you put in and how much money you put out. It's like a I don't know, like you investing in a stock. So it's an investment. It's no expense. So why people see advertising as an expense, and why they don't see the whole value, the whole thing, what actually one of the most important things to do in the company to make money? What happened? Why people are thinking like this?
Well, I'm glad you said investment, because that's how we call it investments. We don't say advertising budgets, we say investment, right? And it's true. And so I think there's a couple ways of looking at this. One is the type of advertising you're running. So everyone talks about the marketing funnel, right? So you can have advertising that's awareness based. You can have advertising that's like more like kind of consideration engagement based. And then you can have like direct sales advertising. So we specifically focus on that because, to your point, it's very clear for every dollar you spend, how much you're making back. And so we like to focus in that area because for us, we know exactly how much money we're making companies. I think part of the reason why brands get suspicious of advertising is more on the brand awareness side or the consideration side, because what you're effectively doing is building up your brand equity and you're investing in that. But it's harder to draw a correlation on revenue. And brand is extremely important. And we found that our best clients have good brands, right? And it makes sense because you can drive better sales if you have you have a strong brand reputation. However, because it's just not a linear correlation, it's like you do a lot of brand building this year. You don't necessarily see the ROI, but maybe over the next 5 years, you're kind of capitalizing on that. But it's really hard to draw that correlation. I think the other thing is advertising is a variable cost. So when a business runs into issues, they want to keep as much variable cost as low as possible. So they're like, we'll cut marketing spend, we'll cut advertising spend. we'll try to stay profitable, kind of just working with our fixed costs around like overhead for employees and things like that, right? And I think that's always a challenge because, yes, you're very right here. And this is something I've talked about multiple times, but the thing is, you got to realize as a brand, if other brands are cutting back on their advertising, it's a really good time to eat up market share, right? Because as people pull back and shrink, you can actually scoop up more market share.
The ad would be cheaper, right? Ads would be cheaper.
And
nobody's advertising in this.
No, it's true. Ads are a lot cheaper, so CPMs go way down, and it's a most efficient time to be advertising. And when other brands kind of disappear off the market, it's a great time to kind of build up that brand presence. So I would say, for brands that are smart, if we're in an economic downturn, you actually want to double down on marketing and advertising because that's where you can scoop 100%. Up as many new customers. Yeah, at the lowest cost too. It's the most efficient time to do it.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I think, and then so the last question, I think that when we talk about e-commerce, right, there is some parameters, because what I think is about branding, what can help actually is to increase the conversion rate, right? If you have a good brand, then you can have a better conversion rate, okay, which is actually good. But at the end of the day, there is a term that is very important in e-commerce that we call abandonment rate. So basically, how many people visit your website and how many people actually buy. And I think that not too many people look at this parameter seriously enough to try to improve the abandonment rate. So what things can be done with the companies in order to make the abandonment rate to make people to actually land in the website and actually buy, or what are the causes that produce a very fast abandonment rate out of the e-commerce in general?
Yeah, so we like to build out a model of our clients and we're working with. And in that model, what we try to figure out are all the customer touch points. So, when a customer first sees an ad, when they click on the ad, when they go to the website, when they go to the product landing page, when they go to the cart, and then when they go to the checkout page, right? And we basically we go and pull the data from the website, Shopify typically, and then we assign metrics there. And then we take metrics that we think the brand needs to be doing in order to be successful, to get a good conversion rate, to actually have their target customer acquisition cost, to hit the revenue they want to hit. And typically what we've identified here is there are a couple of breaking points that happen. One is the ad messaging itself is not accurate. So it's not talking to the right person. It's not using the right messaging. It's also not formatted in a way that actually drives action. And so we work a lot on that. And then once, they actually go to the landing page, typically it's the same thing with the landing page. So what I like to say is landing pages are ads too. And so your landing page needs to be structured like an ad. It needs to speak to a specific customer group that you're advertising for. It needs to have the call to actions that you think will work well. It needs to have all the information the customer needs to, read to kind of validate making that purchase. It also needs to have some type of, sense of urgency to actually get them to go make that purchase. And I think the other thing too, the way to think about your website or landing pages is in the e-commerce space. Your landing page is basically your floor salesperson. So if you have a retail outlet, you have a salesperson that's walking around and trying to sell stuff. That's what your landing page does, because you effectively don't have that person, right? And there's other tools that you can use that are kind of more like marketing tactics to get that increased conversion rate. So one is like to have a good chat bot on the page. So if they don't get enough information on the website itself, they can always message the chat bot.
Increase conversion.
Yeah. And then there's also like abandonment flows you can set up through email and text. There's a good company out there called Live Recover. And so this is a text-based company where if someone actually goes and they add to cart and they disappear, typically part of that add to cart process, they add a phone number. So you actually have a live agent go text that person and be like, hey, saw you add this to the cart and you didn't make a purchase. Like, what happened? And they'll actually get that person to re-engage. And then I think it's like, the other things too on the website, also ads, is like you really understand what the biggest barriers are. So, understand what those biggest objection points are and make sure you're addressing them on the website, right? And I think if you do that well, that radically improves conversion rates and reduces abandonment rates. I think one kind of infrastructural thing that is always good, we always look at first, is how fast that website loads, because that's actually something that most people don't notice. But if the website takes a long time to load, people leave.
Yeah.
And so I think those are kind of, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. But then you touched on one point that is actually very important as well. And I think that in e-commerce, we miss this a lot. Is in trying to retarget or to remarketing these people that landed in the first place, because most of the e-commerce sometimes they focus on how to acquire new clients, spending a lot of money. It's very expensive to get a new client. Where you already have someone that already land in your landing page, that they already read it, okay? And this is a very easiest way to do remarketing to this person, to remind them that you're there. And this can increase a lot the sales. There's a lot of money there in the in targeting these people that visit but not buy. So what is your view in target those people? Because sometimes the people line in the landing page and they didn't buy just because of a phone call or they're cooking or the kids start to cry or who knows, but it's a potential buyer out there, and if we don't make sure that we keep the communication, you either buy or die, but if we don't keep it, so you gonna buy or not, we need to know, because already they landed. They didn't buy, but we don't know if they want to buy or not. And it's a lot of money in that type of clients that abandon the website for different reasons, right? And so what is your view on targeting? Because sometimes it's like that. Sometimes because the website is low. Sometimes it's but sometimes everything is fine. They're just leaving because they're leaving, but they're future buyers, right?
Yeah. So so as part of all of our campaigns, we always have a remarketing segment that's set up. Campaigns are for remarketing, always have budget allocated to that. I think.
Brilliant. I love remarketing.
So it's funny. Yeah, it's funny. Because it's so useful and helpful, I don't think about it as a net new thing because we always just do it, right? And it seems to me it's just like a normal thing, and it is true. It's like if someone already shows interest by watching,
not so many people. Oh my God! If I tell you a story, people don't even want to talk about remarketing. Maybe it's something very common to you and makes sense, but if I tell you a story, you will cry. What people are doing out there with e-commerce.
Well, that's wild to me. But yeah, so we always want to make sure we have remarketing set up. I think the one challenge that we've had recently with remarketing is because of the iOS 14 and update and other privacy issues with cookies, your ability to remarket to people has diminished pretty significantly in the last couple of years. And so the biggest challenge I see with remarketing today is you can't actually remarket to as big of an audience as you could before. Typically, it's about it's 25% of the actual people that have maybe visited your website for a certain time frame, you can actually remarket to. So that's actually the biggest challenge I see with remarketing today. But in terms of remarketing, some kind of tactics that we've learned that work well. So one is make sure you remarket to them across multiple channels, right? So it's not just doing a remarketing Facebook campaign, but doing it programmatically, doing it across the entire, rest of the internet, doing it on Google Ads as well, trying to set up as many different touch points for remarketing as possible, because that person might see your ad on Facebook and then, they're on a couple of different websites, they're on YouTube watching videos. You want to make sure they're
YouTube and so on, and they can see it again, and they will come back. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, the messaging on remarketing is really good to always have some type of, time sensitive promotion, because you want to get them to come back and have some sense of urgency to go back and actually make that completed purchase. So making sure that's in your remarketing creative is really important. And I think the other thing too, that most e-com companies I've seen is not only thinking about remarketing in terms of ads, but having a really good email and text remarketing program as well, because that will drive a significant amount of revenue. And always thinking about, even to extending further out, once someone has made a purchase and once they are a customer, remarket to them through email and text for increasing that lifetime value. Get them to come back and make a purchase again, right? Because if a customer buys from you once, they're significantly more likely to buy from you again than a net new customer, right?
Yeah. So. And then if somebody's listening this podcast and they have an e-commerce platform in Shopify and they want to scale, and you clearly know what you're talking about, yeah. And I love what people know what they're talking about. Yeah, that's why you're successful. Yeah, because you hear a lot of people there in the internet talking about marketing, this and that, and sometimes you're like, oh my God. But so you clearly know your stuff, and so if our audience are listening and they have an e-commerce and they meet your criteria, how they can find you guys, how they can join you, how the process works. Can you describe a little bit more about this?
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to reach out, you can reach out to us on our website. So it's a letter H, hstreetdigital.co. So it's .co. And you can just message us through a form on that. If you also want to reach out to me directly, just message me on LinkedIn. So it's Hal Smith. If you search Hal Smith and H Street, you should be able to find me. And then what does our process look like? So we typically do, we talk to a brand. We'll ask you a number of questions. If those questions sound good to us, then we'll propose doing an audit. And in this audit, it's for free. It takes us about a week to do. We'll give you this audit as well as a 30, 60, 90-day plan for how we think we can scale up your digital advertising in that time frame. And we'll give it to you for free. You can take it, you can work with us or not. But we really, yeah. And so we really spend a lot of time on that, a lot of focus, and really try to give you the best possible insights, because if you want to work with us, we basically take that audit and 30, 60, 90-day plan and we go implement it. So it's really important for us to kind of do the research and do that right. And so that's really the first step, is just let us know. We'll hop on a discovery call. We'll do the audit and give you that 30, 60, 90-day plan, and we'll kind of take it from there.
That's great for the onboarding, yeah, because in the end of the day, this deep research, you have to do it anyway in order to have happy clients.
Right, yeah, exactly.
To have happy clients, you have to do the deep research anyway, so you better do it with all the people that you're thinking to onboard. And it's up to them if they want to join or not. At least half of the job you have it done already. And
yeah, exactly.
It makes the implementation part easier because all the audit has been done. Yeah. So thank you so much. I think this podcast has been fantastic. And I want to congratulate you. I wish you the best. And for all of you, our audience listening the podcast in Spotify or in Apple, follow us in our social media. See you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Awesome. Thank you, Harry.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.